You are a true master! Dmitri! Finish those rats! Once again!
How'd you get out of Vorkuta? Never thought I'd see you alive.
Nor are you, my friend. I am here with a warning. Your government would do well to heed. Dragovich is planning an attack on the west. His influence spreads like a cancer. Even the Kremlin does not know what he is truly planning.
The flag may be different, but the methods are the same. They will use you as they used me.
You know, an idiot looks at something and he thinks, this is stupid, and he leaves. Not because the object in question is factually stupid, but because he does not have the capacity to understand anything intelligent. Whereas what some people call a nerd, or I suppose what we call an artist, spelled with a U, does the opposite. He looks at a film about space wizards and reads into it profound political and spiritual commentary. Neither gets us particularly closer to how things really are about the media in question. But if you must err, I'd advise erring in favor of the latter. Because whereas overanalyzing something rarely reveals anything about the object being interpreted, it only stands to add value. It does not subtract value. At the least, it reveals a lot about the interpreter. Most commonly that he is an artist with a U. This is the sequel to my World at War video. I had a couple of other videos planned and another one just about finished, but due to technical difficulties, I'll be uploading those at another time. For the time being, enjoy a game about how great war is, that you play as a brainwashed person. I mean, fictional character. In 2024, I made an argument regarding the campaign of World at War that was so powerful it was practically invincible. And since it was invincible, nobody could see it. I said that World at War is an anti-war game that presents itself as war propaganda, namely it shows you the glory of war while hiding, or pretending to hide, the real message in plain view. When concluding that video, I noted that there is an inconsistency the perceptive among you might have already noticed. It has to do with how the campaign presents the American Marines as compared to the Soviet conscripts. I also said we'd talk about that in another video, and so we're here. If you compared the two campaigns, you might notice that both the Americans and the Soviets treat their enemies the same. Both sides dehumanize their opponent. But whereas the narrative makes sure to condemn the Soviets, it does not do so for the Americans. For one, both sides refer to the enemy as animals. You're supposed to judge Reznov when he calls the Germans rats.
One rat at a time.
But the game downplays it when Robak calls the Japanese animals.
Those animals killed him! Animals!
And if you think that's just racist Robak in isolation, Polanski calls them animals as well. Like this particular epithet was essential to the script. The Soviet campaign makes note of Soviet brutality by showing attention to weapons that let you practice the gore system of the enemy, LMGs, incendiary weapons, and a shotgun. By contrast, the American campaign spawns you with these weapons, so you can practice the core system all the more conveniently. Just as Reznov relishes in incinerating the enemy, so does Robok nonchalantly note that will burn them out. This goes on in Black Ops, and both sides fight as invaders, not as defenders. It's 1945. You're really fighting reserve troops, the old, the young, and the weak, Germans and Japanese alike. It is either hypocrisy the developers are too biased to notice, or it is an important theme you're supposed to notice if you care enough to notice it, then you go on to make your own conclusions. And I think Black Ops answers in favor of the latter, hence my video, the Black Ops campaign, as you have never heard it before. Enjoy.
Wake up!
Having defeated Nazi Germany in pre-anime Japan in World at War, Black Ops traced the classic villain for just about any scumbag in history. Nazis, conspirators, terrorists, cops, and above all, the Soviet Union. These are not your typical communists, the kind that cite Marxist slogans like, "We should worship Reddit mods as celebrities." These are Stalinists, the Reds, the real bad guys. They will do anything to ensure they remain in power, including invading sovereign nations, subverting regimes, and committing war crimes. They work together with Nazi scientists. They even beat people up to get information. Absolutely evil. Anyway, the story begins with Hugh, an American agent, beating the information out of a suspect. He is a Nazi scientist, you see, and he refuses to work with us. Here is a quick summary for those who have either not played the game or who have played it so long ago they don't remember much. The hero of the story is one Jason Hudson. He is in the search for a Soviet poison gas known as Nova 6. He has tracked it down to this scientist, and he is presently trying to extract information. When he finally decides to talk though, you get attacked by people who want him silenced. Luckily, being a game based on old action movies, that is just the kind of thing for which everybody was prepared. I have two guns and I can fire them at the same time. Right click shoots the left gun, left click shoots the right gun, and hey, I may be cross-eyed, but at least I'm alive. Fingers crossed. Or normal, I'm not sure. You fight across the rooftops and almost get away with your guy. But unfortunately, this game is based on old action movies. Saving the world is not quite as easy as that.
Oh yes! The knuckle! They're the key to...
A shame, he seemed an honest man. If you don't get it, pretend it didn't say anything. The next lead on Hudson's list is a Nazi scientist named Friedrich Steiner. Mr. Steiner decides to defect to the Americans, so you go in to extract him. There ensues a bloody battle and you slaughter dozens of people. Things couldn't be any better until you get inside the lab and you notice that somebody has been there before you, and they've raised hell. It turns out it is none other than your former military buddy, Alex Mason. He reaches Steiner right before you do and kills him on the spot. We're in serious trouble. There are Nova 6 containers hidden all over the US. We're facing imminent Armageddon. Mason has just doomed all of humanity, but ironically, he is also our last hope. You see, he has been brainwashed by the Soviets, meaning he just might be able to crack their codes.
Implanted with the knowledge to translate the numbers.
So you capture Mason and you bring him in for interrogation, and this is where the game officially begins. While the hero is Jason Hudson, the protagonist is Alex Mason. Most of the missions are Mason recollecting what happened in an attempt to figure out where the Nova 6 is and how to disarm it. If you had any doubts as to whether this game would leave the story open to interpretation, note that it establishes an unreliable narrator from the get-go.
Ah, I just keep hearing the fucking numbers.
It's a broadcast, Mason. The numbers are a broadcast. You've been brainwashed.
This is your first level. Now, the Bay of Pigs invasion was a real event. It was one episode of many attempts by the US to assassinate Fidel Castro, and for a brief moment in-game, it appears that you are successful, forever altering the future of Canada. Until you're not. You see, it was a double that we assassinated, not the real Castro. For Mason, who has just been captured, it is straight for the work camps, where the Soviets keep POWs and political prisoners. And in comes a familiar figure.
Victor Reznov.
My friend.
The Lenin-looking guy from World at War, reskinned, but not recast. Mason and Reznov organize an uprising in what is arguably one of the best levels in any COD game. It is just the right kind of scripted. Like the older COD games, it balances close encounters with ranged shootouts, meaning you get to be groovy and tactical, and that's mandatory. The good kind, like making Hank Youngman assign reading. All the while, you have the hurrahs of your comrades to spur you on. And yes, this is the first COD to feature a minigun, which is a symbol of economic warfare. This scene cost the Soviet Union millions of dollars. In the end, you escape on bikes, riding shotgun, which I admit is a punishable offense. Finally, we board a moving train, where Reznov sacrifices himself to help Mason get free.
Come on! Step 8, Reznov! Freedom! For you, Mason! Not for me! Reznov!
Mason gets back to the US and he is cleared for service, because why not? On a side note, this is the worst level of any of the old COD games, because it is not a level, it is literally a cutscene, and Black Ops does that twice. Moving on, Mason does some random missions and eventually goes to Vietnam. This is where the story finally kicks off. With your arrival at Khe Sanh. I had a brother there, he was fighting off the Viet Cong. The other day he texted me, he said, if they didn't get the Cranberries reference in World at War, what makes you think they'll get this one? Anyway, I like this scene. It continues in the tradition of World at War, where it behaves like propaganda that can't quite hide reality. If you only look where the game wants you to look, you'll see a cool soldier guy coolly soldiering to Fortunate Son. But if you're just smart enough to look to the side, you'll see American soldiers in body bags. So whether or not you think this is meant to glorify war depends on how tightly you wear your blinders. This will be a recurring theme. Now, if breaking out of Vorkuta is the most epic level in Black Ops, then this is a close second. The sheer chaos is Treyarch at its best. You're being shot at from every direction, and cover and kill zone differ only by circumstance. This one plays a lot like a World at War level. And if you play a veteran, you'd better have the reflexes of a CSGO Gold Nova wallbanger. Every segment is a struggle, especially this third bit where you have a nigh impossible objective. It is one of those every minor mistake costs you dearly moments, where also not having great luck is considered a major mistake. And if you make it to the end, you're rewarded with this vehicle section where you destroy tanks with guided missiles, just to make up for all your hard work. And right after, you go to Huey City, which is how illiterate people pronounce Way City. It is yet another historic battle, but being a Black Op, you're not there for the battle itself. You're there to secure a Soviet defector. And wouldn't you know it, the guy in question is Victor Reznov, our friend from Vorkuta. He's made his way out of the camp on his own, and now we fight side by side once again.
Are these your men?
Woods, Bowman.
I am Rez. Vic, what took you so long, Mason? That intel better be worth it.
Well, that was cold. He introduces himself to Mason's team and they treat him like he is not even there. I know exactly how Mason feels. People treat my friends the same way. We fight our way through the ruins of Way City, we set up an explosive retreat, and make our getaway in an epic boat rescue. You might have noticed by now that this doesn't really feel like Vietnam. This level in particular was just another urban action mission. Fun as it is, when I first played it, I was disappointed. I wanted Vietnam, not Modern Warfare Vietnam. But you see, Black Ops does not try to be a realistic war drama, nor does it really care for historical accuracy. I said it in my earlier video, COD 1 and 2 imitated older war movies. They're brutal, but they're not bloody. They treated the war with respect, but they avoided showing its visceral horrors. World at War was more of a modern war drama like the Pacific. It emphasized the violence and the blood, but Black Ops is an 80s action movie. Its closest relative is most likely Total Recall, weird as that sounds, in both story and presentation. If the other games wanted you to know that you shouldn't try to be Rambo because you can't be Rambo, Black Ops wants you to understand that you shouldn't try to be Rambo because Rambo would be cutting back. The color palette, the music, the structure of the missions. It doesn't even pretend to be about war. It's pure action, which isn't as bad as it sounds. After all, it is an 80s action movie, not a Michael Bay action movie, and 80s action movies often had intelligent premises.
What is left to believe in when you are betrayed by your own? When all that you are, all that you have done, is buried beneath the lies and the deceit of corrupt men. I would die in this wretched place. The only thing that keeps me alive is the thirst for vengeance.
Now don't get me wrong, it does a lot of stupid things regardless, like that mission where Bowman infiltrates a Russian camp pretending to be Russian, and succeeds. Just for reference, this is Bowman. I'm not saying that Black Ops is not stupid, only that it is not entirely, not even a little bit smart as well. Back to the story, Reznov gets us information concerning the whereabouts of Kravchenko, Steiner, and Dragovich. These are dangerous men working for the enemy, Dragovich being the leader. Back in the 40s, he killed Reznov's best friend and had Reznov imprisoned. 16 years later, he sent Mason to get tortured in Vorkuta. In the present day, he works to weaponize Nova 6 gas against the West. So this isn't just a personal vendetta, it is also saving the world. Reznov and Mason set off to find them and put an end to their reign of terror. They fight, they get captured, they escape, they take out Kravchenko. Mason loses his team, all save Reznov, and the two finally get to the lab where Steiner works, and they raise hell. And so we get to the proper beginning of the game.
Damn, it's bulletproof! Mason, what are you doing? We need him alive! Stand down! Stand down!
My name is Victor Reznov, and I will have my
Revenge! Mason, no!
I'm fine. Check Steiner. He's dead. What about Reznov, the defector? We need to find him.
We won't. He was never here. I didn't believe it till I saw it with my own eyes.
There's a twist. The only real Reznov was the one in Vorkuta. The one we met in Way City was in Mason's head. You see, Mason wasn't sent to Vorkuta just to be tortured. He was sent there to be brainwashed. Dragovich meant to turn him into an assassin for the Soviet Union. But through the science of friendship, Reznov managed to subvert the brainwashing and turn Mason into his own agent instead. Namely, an agent enacting vengeance on Steiner, Dragovich, and Kravchenko. Which would be fine, if not for the fact that his vengeance has been at the expense of knowledge of the Nova 6 deactivation codes. Reznov's righteous vengeance has put the world in danger.
Reznov cannot be trusted, no matter what he tells you.
Fortunately, Black Ops is a feel-good kind of Horrors of War game. The brainwash spell is broken and Mason makes sense of the numbers. They locate the boat and get down to business. They prevent Armageddon. Before they leave, Mason has one last personal mission.
Bring in the airstrike. We're on our way out.
Not yet. We need to find Dragovich.
In less than 15 minutes, the U.S. Navy is gonna blow this place apart.
I made the mistake of not confirming the kill 5 years ago at Baikonur.
You sure you're still not brainwashed?
But no, really, Dragovich is evil. It's a public service. In the end, you swing back up to the surface, your buddies help you up, and you all live happily ever after.
We won.
For now.
Until Black Ops 2.
My father, Alex Mason, gave up everything he had. He abandoned me.
To be fair, we all lived more happily before playing Black Ops 2. Now, if you've played the game, you probably know that I LMNOP'd over 2/3 of the campaign. That's deliberate, but not lazy. I don't think the details of the Nova 6 plot are that important. What interests me is how Black Ops portrays war, because simple though it seems, below the surface level, it is a case study in contradiction. And it so happens that it is a brilliant contradiction, just like World at War before it. For all its talk of the horrors of war and how we really shouldn't want war, it is ultimately a game about war being fun. You can't expect a clear message against the toll war takes on human lives when the purpose of the game is to be responsible for that toll. An action game can be anti-war no more than furry porn can be anti-bestiality. And you can quote me on that. But please don't. But at the same time, for all its portrayal of the military as this cool institution about gruff guys being ruggedly cool and gruffly rugged, occasionally intelligently rugged because they ruggedly use technology, it really fails to make war appealing. even for people who are attracted to this kind of militaristic tough guy portrayal of masculinity. You can't tell me that the message you derive from these clips is that you would survive this battle in real life, or that war is something you would want to try even if you were confident you would make it. If it were a movie, it would be different, as the director could cut just as the cool bit ends. But in a game, you experience the content without direction, meaning that you will unavoidably be exposed to a variety of unflattering events. Whatever its political message, if it even has one, a game like this only stands to flop. If it wants to discourage war, it can't really do it while promoting combat. The hell that is human beings forced to kill one another. Right after this checkpoint. Conversely, if it wants to glorify war, it can't do that either because it is a game. The very possibility of losing is enough of a deterrent to most people, let alone losing over and over again, which is what happens in Treyarch games. What I find interesting about Black Ops though is that it works not by avoiding these contradictions but by building upon them. It maximizes all the problems of the genre to create a solution to the genre. Just as I skipped so much of the plot, so does Black Ops glance over things about the Cold War that should have taken center place in a serious medium. It trivializes all kinds of war crimes. It introduces the theme of a dangerous toxin being used in the people of Vietnam.
A nerve toxin that can rupture a body in seconds.
Dragovich's second in command, Kravchenko, tested in Vietnam. On them? On us? On his own? He doesn't care.
In the game, this is done by the Soviet Union. You're supposed to think red and fictional, not orange and real. There's an in-game scene that shows the brutality of the Soviets as Kravchenko slaughters these German soldiers. And yes, the scene takes place to the side. You're not obliged to notice it. But the very next level shows Mason's team doing the same to the North Vietnamese. They even gloat over it.
Never gets old.
And this one you can't not notice. You go on to slaughter dozens of people defending the country, but the good guy weeps over losing just one of his own.
That young kid didn't make it. I swear to God that Woods was crying. But he never let us see no tears.
Whatever it touches, Black Ops reinterprets as a self-righteous power fantasy. When it shows a scene taken from a classic movie, it reimagines its anti-war metaphor as a based pro-carnage depiction of war. I'd say this whole campaign is biased to the point of being borderline schizophrenic, if not for how much of a testament it is to Western screw-ups during the Cold War. I mean, it begins with the Bay of Pigs invasion, and a majority of Mason's story takes place in Vietnam. None of this paints the American army in a good light. And then there's the conspiracy angle. Every now and then you get brief references to Western conspiracy theories.
That's why it worked. It was their attempt at MK-Ultra.
However you feel about these particular stories, you will agree that so much as referencing them is an argument against trusting authority. The very possibility puts into question the dynamic between benevolence and power. But unless you care to look them up, you probably won't find out what they are, not from the game. You'd think them negligible affairs simply because the game treats them as negligible affairs. You'd think the Bay of Pigs invasion was just a fun level in some video game, the Deer Hunter was an action movie, and Annoying Orange served as a secret agent in Vietnam. The thing to consider here is that Treyarch built these scenes from scratch. They were obliged to reference American screw-ups during the Cold War no more than they were obliged to portray Soviet brutality in World War II. The only reason to have them in the games is because they wanted them in their games. But they put them, often literally, to the side, as if you're not supposed to notice them. Except that if you were not supposed to notice them, they would not be there in the first place. This is what accounts for these titles giving off the impression of being either propaganda that is too self-aware and consequently feeling a little guilty, or else satire that is too stupid to realize it is satire. Everything in focus, whatever explicitly told or shown center screen, feels like indoctrination. Whatever requires you to pause, look around, and think feels like a commentary against indoctrination.
I'm told that you are the very best that we have. Anywhere.
And what better character through whom to convey this than Alex Mason, a man who is literally brainwashed. A man, furthermore, who narrates a story that is canonically not canon, considering he misremembers things. Just as Reznov was the one writing the history of World at War and hating the person writing from another perspective, so is Mason a historian of Black Ops, the Cold War historian, all the while everything he says is being put in question.
Trying to fuck with my mind! Wait! You don't know anything! I can make you kill my own president! Right?
5mm.
16,
11.22.
6, 12.
Texas.
Even he knows better than to trust anyone, himself included.
I felt like everyone was watching us. And watching me. But then you couldn't trust anyone. Sometimes even yourself.
The one person he did trust was not real, and the one person he trusts afterwards ends up betraying him to Black Ops 2. Then again, Black Ops 2 betrayed all of us. In the trailer, the speaker explicitly calls history a bunch of lies we've been led to accept.
A lie is a lie.
Just because they write it down and call it history doesn't make it the truth.
I think that's enough evidence to build up to a motif, deliberately written or otherwise. Doubt is integral to this world, and while Mason regains his confidence by the end of the game, we're shortly after shown that he is not actually free from his brainwashing.
Mason, you did it, Mason. You did what I could not.
His behavior is reactive, not rational. When his government sends him to kill, he kills. When Reznov tells him to kill, he kills. He never pauses to reconsider a command. When one strain of brainwashing is broken, another one takes its place. This is another instance of the following orders versus taking initiative motif I talked about in World at War, except that Mason does not have that freedom of choice. He can only comply. Naturally, after the fact, he reinterprets events to where he did the right thing. It is the way of the ideal soldier under command. Orders are always good. Whatever you do is cool and epic and for the right cause. Given his character, we really can't take his point of view as real. The same way that we couldn't take Reznov's point of view as an accurate account of the war in World at War. For every speech he gave about crushing the Germans and the might of the Soviet army, the gameplay had us crawling in the mud and respawning multiple times per checkpoint. World at War Reznov did not concern himself with individual lives. He always puts goal before persons, even in Black Ops.
Reznov, your men must know this is suicide.
Victory cannot be achieved without sacrifice, Mason. We Russians know this better than anyone. Prepare yourself, man!
The only thing he consistently cares about is that the story being recorded is the story that he is telling, one of righteous vengeance.
Our vengeance will be complete.
Ironically, that is exactly what the World at War American campaign is as well. It presents itself as different, but apart from Roblox rambling, it is really a narrative meant to justify war crimes. They're evil, we're good. They don't deserve to live. We do. Not only do you treat the Japanese men as Squids would go on to treat the women, but you're supposed to feel that you are the victim. With this narrative, the nukes aren't only justified, they're well deserved. It is the same brutality against innocent civilians for which we are supposed to condemn the Soviets. But don't you see, they're animals. No mercy will be shown today. We'll burn them out, just like the rats they are. Who cares anyway? This is their land, their people, their blood. The two campaigns of World at War are in essence the same. It's just that your attention is being directed away from the similarities.
The flag may be different, but the methods are the same. They will use you as they used me.
And the Black Ops campaign is their inheritor. It is a rebirth of World at War. The two games may have different plots, but there is a strict continuity in character and narrative. There's brutality, there's destructive complicity, and there's the story to justify it. The Reznov we meet here is the same vindictive, charming ideologue we met in World at War. The only difference is that this time he's disillusioned.
Without an arm, betrayed, forgotten, abandoned. In Vorkuta, we are all brothers.
He began as the narrator of the story. He introduced the Soviet missions. He didn't drive the plot. That would be the war itself. Nor was he the hero. That would be Private Dmitry Petrenko. Reznov merely tailored the narrative. His quest began as an assassination mission, continued as a quest for vengeance, and concluded with a patriotic victory screen with his country's flag in the background.
We will return to Russia's embrace.
In Black Ops, Reznov has been promoted to moving the plot, as the game happens because of him. All the while, the hero is Jason Hudson, and the narrator is Alex Mason. In that sense, Mason takes the place of Reznov.
My name is Peter Reznov, and I will have my revenge! Mason, no!
And now consider how Mason's arc also begins with an assassination, develops as a campaign for vengeance, and concludes with a patriotic victory screen with his country's flag in the background.
He was never at Rebirth Island.
And speaking of Rebirth, that is literally the name of the island where this revelation takes place. To make the pattern even better, or suppose extra schizo, Reznov's reason for existence is correcting the mistake he had made. It is vengeance for that day when Steiner, Dragovich, and Kravchenko betrayed Reznov.
Do not point that weapon at me, Russian dog!
Reznov's slip-up, by his own admission, was not killing Steiner when he had the chance.
Every fiber of my being yearned to put an end to his wretched life. But I was a soldier then. I still believed in orders.
He's thought of nothing but correcting this mistake since, and the mission where Mason finally kills Dragovich is called Redemption. The only question is whose, because taking out Dragovich means nothing to Mason. That was Reznov's ambition. Mason does not get redeemed, he remains brainwashed. He goes on doing what he is told, and trust in the authorities eventually gets him killed.
I may have questioned orders, but I never questioned motives. We're all just puppets.
He cannot even avenge himself, as did Reznov. That agenda is the responsibility of his son, which is a common theme. The villain in that game is also a villain because he is trying to avenge his sister. And then in Black Ops 3, the villain is a rogue AI that looks to avenge the people who were sacrificed to make its data centers. No, I'm not building up to a punchline, that's the literal plot. Now, the writers of these games vary, so I don't think they have this in mind, but as much as I dislike the direction in which they took the series, I'm under the impression that Black Ops inadvertently makes this argument. Violence is an unending cycle. In some people, it lives as an inborn evil. In others, it begets itself as the craving for vengeance. It takes over you and it deprives you of your agency, just long enough to get you to do something that will beget the same craving in others.
Your life will be consumed by absolute loss. Then and only then will you understand what you have done to me.
If these games were 20th century French intellectual, they would be René Girard. But as they're 21st century entertainment, they're merely games about war being great, as long as you don't reconsider what you're being told. And to make the pattern complete, the moral choices in World at War punished complicity and rewarded going against the flow, meaning that we get 3 campaigns, arguably 4, that portray the same extent of brutality, propaganda, and following orders to one's detriment. The only difference is in how you're supposed to feel about that. I believe at this point it makes sense to argue that Shrek's trilogy is not about war, but about the way war is being depicted. It is not about reality, but narrative. It draws your attention and perspective more so than history. History, by the game's own admission, is just a canonized collection of lies, which is the running theme connecting World at War and Black Ops. You're not supposed to think this is what war is like. You're supposed to think this is what war looks like with different interpreters, from epic and heroic and brutal, to heroic and brutal, to merely brutal. Until it gets purely heroic, though in essence it is always the same. But I'm not being brainwashed, it is the enemy that is brainwashed. Then again, this is not a serious game. It certainly plays like one, but that is only until the credits roll. Then it gets arguably better.
It appears the Pentagon has been breached.
Zombies. Gentlemen, at times like these, our capacity to retaliate must be, and has to be massive, to deter all forms of aggression.
Irreverent as this is, I like it. This should have been a campaign of its own.
Lock and load.
But really, whereas people argue whether or not the COD series delivers an anti-war message or acts as pro-military propaganda, it could be that it is neither. It could be that the military aesthetic is simply there to look cool, not to indoctrinate you, and the brutality that is being portrayed is just edge entertainment, not political commentary. Again, however you interpret the campaign depends on you, which only further goes in favor of the argument that these games are about narrative. Narrative entailing a point of view, and point of view entailing a viewer. Or character, in particular, yours.
Men they were. Why they all must
To conclude the video, I don't think any of this was deliberate. Black Ops is most likely no more pro-military or anti-military than Left 4 Dead is pro-Second Amendment or anti-Second Amendment. It doesn't try to be art. It doesn't try to educate you either. It is just a fun game meant to entertain you. But this doesn't mean it has no further value than that. Common entertainment is more than its immediate effect. Looking at it as if it just might teach you something, just might teach you something. If nothing else, assuming something is more intelligent than it seems, and then going on to verify that assumption is a good exercise of your own intelligence. That's how culture works. Therefore, be it when discussing Cherk's duology or thinking about anything else in life, spare a moment to ask yourself who you really are. Are you being the deluded World at War Reznov convinced of his own triumph? The disillusioned Black Ops Reznov, aware there's never been any triumph, or Alex Mason, thinking he is rational and free, all the while being as brutal as a Soviet commissar and lacking the freedom of even a Soviet conscript. You might find your outlooks in many matters changing as you do, because you can be one of two kinds of people, the kind that remains in their chair and obeys the screen in front of them, thinking it is the only way, or you can be the kind of person who breaks out of the chair. And if you do stand up, do you go to the computer and try to figure out how to use it and maybe learn a thing or two about the world? Or do you just type DOA and play a funny monkey game? Hey, I don't judge you. I prefer the monkey game. I think I'll keep playing it until I get bored, at which point I'll return to monkey reality. In the meantime, do consider indulging in the narratives that I create. Unlike politics, my narratives are good for you. I have a channel and I have books. My fantasy novel came out just a while ago. I highly recommend it. Or if you understood the Mulholland part of the video, then I would recommend The Playwright. I'm sure you will appreciate the story underneath the story. I also have science fiction about dystopias and eugenics, a dark comedy historical mystery, and essays about STEM versus the humanities, language, metaphor, equality, IQ, intelligence, and mental health, and art, AI, and alienation. Oh, and poetry. Because I'm a classy kind of epic gamer. Go to the Lulu bookstore for the better prices, or go to any of the others for better quality covers. Or just buy digital. I'm happy that you read. Your preferred format is up to you. So take care, have a great rest of your day, and remember, it was the evil in other people that made one miserable, and it was free-floating evil that sought to corrupt everyone. To engage with it, even in retaliation, was to make oneself available to it. It was to embrace the infection. That is from my latest novel, because high fantasy is not just epic battles and cool monsters. It is also about wisdom, character, and a fascination with history, and drunken dwarves. Thank you for watching. Peace.